Hi, my name's Paul and this is PJT Ventures. Join me while I ramble on like an empty dump truck. Today's ramble we are working on a Letourneau model DP Turnipull. Now this particular piece of equipment has electric motors and winches in order to run all of the functions of the scraper. On a previous video we were working on a gearbox that ran the ejecting function of the scraper. Now this is the gear that is in the gearbox that actually connects to the engine, or sorry, the electric motor. Now this electric motor is integral to the gearbox, so the two of them have to be together in order for it to operate, because this rotor is actually supported by the gear case that then it feeds power to. Anyway, so we're going to get started. We're going to tear this one all apart. Now, on the other end of the motor here is the brake. So this brake kind of works the same idea as like an air brake, where these springs are constantly putting the brake on, and when you would actuate the switch or the function in the scraper, these electromagnets would pull down on this and allow the brake discs that are inside here to then rotate freely. And so simultaneously, as you're actuating the engine, or the motor to turn, this electric brake has come on and taken the pressure off of this brake, and it allows this then to turn. And then the moment you let off the electric motor, then the brake will come on and hold the scraper's function in its locked position. So when you raise the bowl, or when you are steering, because there's one of these for the steering of the machine as well. So anyways, so we're going to take it all apart and we're going to see what works, see what needs to be replaced, clean it all up, and see what we can find. Anyways, we'll get started. So it looks like this has, that's kind of cool, this has a little keeper bolt, and it goes through and it sandwiches this threaded insert tight. And so I would imagine this is how you would set your brakes. You would spin this nut loose, turn this either in or out with these big, maybe like some big spanner wrench or some type of, like a angle grinder wrench, but just big. And you would then spin this in or out depending on how much clamping force you wanted. That's kind of neat. And then of course the next plate is a stationary plate that would stop the binding, or would bind it against these studs. And then the next is a brake disc. These are all going to have to get cleaned up, but until I'm familiar with them, I'll keep labeling them. And then another stationary one, and another. Now these look really good. if you look at the steering ones, you know what, I'll go grab a steering one right now, just so you can see. These might actually become the steering ones. Hold on. Okay, so this is the, you can actually see there is some type of fiber there. I'm not quite sure if it's fiber or if it's just they machined a recess edge here. But anyway, so this guy is from the brake for the eject, and this is from the steering. So if you look at the difference at how much this guy is way more worn. Look at how sharp the teeth are. They almost look like worn out caterpillar sprockets. Look at the distance from the top of the tooth crest to that one. It's near a point, whereas this one's got some meat. So anyways, so this just shows that the steering one, of course, gets way more use than, of course, I bet you the eject is probably the least amount used in the scraper functions. You know, you'd be steering the most, let's say, and then raising and lowering maybe you raise and lower the scraper bowl about the same as the steering, and then the apron would be, you know, once per trip, and the eject would be once per trip. So anyways, I don't know if these are all interchangeable. They look like they are, so we'll see how good a shape everything's in. But this one is the eject. This one I have labeled as the steering. This is for the bottom. Anyways, and then, so now we're down to where these springs have now, like, it's not a lot. I mean, you wouldn't want to have those springs pinch your fingers, but so looks like this is a looks like there's a cotter pin and a castle nut in there. We'll get some WD-40 on there. I don't know if you can see in there. We'll get it out. What size is that? I think it's gonna whack me, so I'm gonna just put something on there maybe. just as a safety precaution. Okay, what do we got going on here? There we go. Check that out. Now we should probably mark this guy. So, this guy's on a spline, so he slides back and forth, and these brakes can slide back and forth, and this guy, he's the magnets. I wonder, there's like some little subtle it's not magnetic, but there's some kind of little rivets here. I don't know if it's, I don't know, interesting. Should tip up. Take these springs off. Now, on a previous video, I'm pretty sure that I thought I had disconnected the steering magnets. So I had taken all of the actual brakes off, with the exception of the last plate and this kind of spline drive thing. But I could see this plate, I think in the one video you can see this plate bouncing and the snow is bouncing off of it. So maybe I didn't get it fully disconnected, because at one point you can see this guy banging up. So it must have been that these magnets, or some of them, were energizing and pulling it down against the springs, and then when I'd let go of the switch, this would bang up, of course, because it wasn't pressing against anything. But anyways, yeah. So it looks like there's some kind of another splined something. So there's this little spline, but then there's also splines in there, or maybe that's part of the rotor. I wonder if the rotor will come out now. I mean, it must be on a bearing. Oh no, this whole assembly has to come off. There's like a bell shape right here. See that? So I'm going to have to separate this in order to get that must. Here's a grease zerk, so I bet you the bearing is hopefully the bearing's in this thing, and when I take these bolts out, this and the rotor all comes out, because this guy is he's free at this end. Hopefully it all just comes out that way. Here is the just so this is all that really says, is it says size number 1, number of teeth 8, 240 volt, 120 cycles at 3600 RPM. So there's no other amps or FLA or horsepower, or I'm sure somebody knows, but that doesn't say. Anyways, that's how it goes sometimes. Let's see if we can get this separated now. Okay, I'm trying to be as careful as I can around these windings. I don't want to have the universal joint go crazy and whack these things. I'm not quite sure the state that this is in. I mean, it looks pretty rough, but I know that the YouTube community is as worried as I am about it. So with that being said, we're going to be really careful with it until I get the hammer out. Anyways, we'll keep going. Go. Okay. Oh, it's heavy. Okay. Well, let's get a closer look in there. Okay. this to all tip. These have little keepers on them, but okay. Well, that's looking good. So there is a little, this guy is the splined drive that runs the brakes, and he slid on here. And so now looks like there's a little keeper pin that's been just held in with, that's just been held in by that splined drive, and it looks like there is two bolts here that, my guess is they hold a bearing flange. So we're going to take these off and see if this separates the end of the motor from the rotor. It's kind of hard to see in there, but that's my guess. Maybe it's not, but we'll try. I took both of these things outside and blew them off because I mean that there's some, looks like some type of fiberglass insulation on that wiring, and yeah, they made things back in the day extremely reliable and long lasting, but that came at the cost of many lives. So got to protect yourself. It's kind of like that transformer oil. You'd never know it was full of PCBs or cancer-causing stuff, and then of course it's been so long since that stuff's been around that it's almost become more dangerous because there's not awareness. So guys got to be ever careful. We might have a socket. Everyone look away. I'm using the ball end to break it loose. Oh, that's not bad. Something's moving. Okay, look at that. exactly how that went. Looks like there's some okay, looking good. Oh, there is some. There's a spacer washer. There's a. Oh yeah, look, there's the. Let's see. There's a. This bearing has a grease gallery to allow the grease from this to go in to this annular ring around there and grease this. And I bet that this spins off the shaft to allow this guy to come off. I don't know if that's the bearing that's wore out. Okay. Look at that. I don't know why this particular one got taken off the machine. My guess is that, this is what I hope, is that they were using the old scraper back in the day and something gave them trouble and they took the back motor off, maybe to go see what was wrong with it, or there is on this motor here, I don't know if you can see that, but there is, like, someone had reran some wires and used like these crimp style for the limit switches and for the brakes. So obviously they had an issue with this end of it, whether it was the motor or whether it was the generator or what. I'm hoping that it was just this motor and we fix this motor and do the wiring. But this does seem to be the area that the people who were running it thought the problem was. I'm hoping anyways. They could have taken this off for some other reason, but that's kind of just my guess. Hard to say. Now it looks like maybe I bet you that I might have one of those wrenches. We'll go see. Here's all the specialty splined wrenches or sockets, whatever you want to call them. So we've used this one to get the drums off the big spline, and now we need this one to do this. He goes on there, and so somewhere along the way there'll be this one and this one and this one and this one. Also this one. I believe this matches. Let's see. Yeah, so that matches that guy. Anyways, it's pretty neat that these all managed to survive, come along with it. They all have numbers on it, and this was I have a couple other duplicates that came with it, so that's kind of cool. Anyways, this guy will take this keeper off, and then we can probably pull this bearing assembly off. Be interesting to see the condition that this bearing's in. I think it's actually in really good condition, but maybe it's not. I mean, at least it's not all ground out and this all tore up like there had been a bad bearing. So judging by the bearing that came out of the case and now seeing this bearing, I don't think there was a bearing failure with the motor, so that's kind of a good sign. And hopefully that means that the motor isn't bad. I don't really want to pound on this. Maybe I can get it up on. I know, we'll do it this way. Glasses. Well, so far everything's been right-hand threads. Nothing like beating the heck out of something to find out you're turning it the wrong way. Oh, look at that. What's going on there? Is that just stuck together, or is that the nut? Oh, it is. Look at that. That's the whole nut. There's that little keeper. And there's a couple of different options for your little keeper. Now, is this just... I wonder if that's just like an old school grease or an old school seal. This is just a retainer washer, but this guy, he's got this little step in him. I mean, this grease shouldn't even be greased, or if it is, you give it like one pump a year. I can't imagine grease getting sprayed out into this motor would be good. Okay, so I got a puller here. This also acts as a weapon. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even need the puller after all that. Yeah, there's another one of these stepped washers. So this guy, he loads up the inner race, and then this guy just must be kind of a dust cap. It is a sealed bearing, but it of course has the little groove in there. Good. Looking good. So I don't know about if this is still good or not. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any damage. I mean, obviously there's corrosion damage, but there doesn't seem to be any mechanical failure damage as far as a bad bearing or something. And this looks like it got dented. This looks like it's gotten dented down. So I'll see if I can pry this up. There was a block, a terminal block for the three-phase to come in and had like the big plastic insulated block that this got smashed. So I'll have to get a new couple of blocks. This block is for the limit switches as well as the electromagnets. So we'll have to get a couple of new blocks, and then yeah, I got all the bearings ordered now. So get this last guy ordered, and so far we've just had to do it all by dimension. These old numbers don't seem to be cross-referencing anything, so I've just been measuring them and but there's just enough corrosion in there that we've come this far. It would be a shame to put, when this was on, yeah, you can feel there's play in there. So anyways, bearings are easy. So we'll get this pried up, and I did want to see if there was shorts in this, but I'm worried that this being jammed down in there might be shorting these wires right here. So we're going to pry this up and then see if there's any shorts or continuity between the three legs. Nothing like that. Glasses. I'll have to go look on the other ones and see how high it comes up. It looks like this is a factory allowance right here. Maybe it's not, but just for where the wires come through this hole here, but the rest of this we gotta get pulled up. Okay, so we're just gonna shine these up. There. Okay. Okay, well that's a good sign. And then I think there's, I'm not sure what the ohms reading is supposed to be. 0.3, 0.4, so these two, 0.5, 0.5, 0.4, so I mean 3 to 6. I saw one go up to 7. I don't know, or 0.7. Anyways, maybe that's good. I don't know. Anyways, okay, so we've got the bearings ordered. We got the seals and bearings ordered for the gear case. I don't really know. I think this has close to the ohms that would make it acceptable, but I'm going to ask the online community, what should I do next? I need to buff this bearing and seal surface here. I need to maybe buff these gears here. Of course, put all of it back together, but do I buff this rust off? How aggressive can I be? What about inside here? How do I address this? I don't know, maybe the whole thing's shot. It has some cracks in that insulation. I don't know, is that a deal breaker? Do I sand this? I don't know. I've never done this before. So anyways, we're going to leave the episode at this point. I think now I will do some reading on how to clean this up, and then when the bearings come in, I'm going to assemble the gearbox, and I might as well just assemble all of this. But yeah, I'd like some advice on what to do with this, and I mean even these. But thanks again for watching, and look forward to hearing from you guys, and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye for now.